how do we talk to our kids when they say, well, mom, dad, you know that, there's no such thing as absolute truth, mom. You know that. Like, how should we respond?
Well, so in my book, Truth Changes Everything, I distinguish between capital T truth, which is truth that's always there. It exists in every culture at all times. It always has and always will. Versus small t truths, the idea that we find things that seem to make sense for us at the moment. Small t truths are almost always trivial. You know what? I found that if I touch my finger to a hot stove, it hurts. So I'm just not going to do that anymore. That's true. It's trivial. When we talk about capital T truth, we're talking about truths that are really transcendent. What is the meaning of life? Why are we here on this planet? How did we get here? Do we live in a universe that is designed for life? Gaining the confidence that there are things that are bigger than us, and that's okay. The natural process of growing up. When I was in graduate school, a professor said the number one thing that kids have to do growing up is decenter. They have to actually begin to see themselves not as the center of reality. And if kids never have that experience, then they grow up narcissistic and almost always with a slate of mental or social disabilities that make it very, very difficult for them to survive and thrive. So that's the difference. When a child says no such thing as absolute truth, obviously the first thing you've got to do is say, well, wait a second, you just proclaimed the existence of an absolute truth.
Right.
And then, when I'm with people, they say, oh, you know what? Everybody decides their own truth. I say, okay, let's just start with something like science for a minute. Would you agree that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level? And, they'll usually say, sure, yeah, I can agree to that. Okay, fine. Would you agree that there are possibly moral truths that fit into this? Well, like what do you mean? Well, I'll give you an example. It is always wrong to torture innocent puppies for fun. Oh, yeah, I think I would agree with that. Okay. Well, it's not just scientific truths. There are moral truths that we need to respond to as well. There is a path that can lead to life and a path that leads to death. And we know how that is actually so. Now, we're not talking about those trivial things of, I got to build my own confidence up. People say things like, man, speak your truth. And what they mean by that is not develop your own epistemological approach to reality. What they mean by that is, have a little confidence, have a little nerve, say what you think, get involved, get into it. And that application of it is okay. It's when we start to believe there are no truths that can be known by us that we end up in trouble.